Hi, everybody. This is your yoga lullaby. It's a restorative practice to help you calm and settle and potentially prepare for sleep. So you could do this at any time, but maybe before bed would be ideal, or anytime you just need to step back and slow down. We're gonna use a lot of props today. So have a bolster, couple blankets, two, three blankets, pillows, block, and a belt. The belt can go into a loop. We're going to use that just once. And then a chair and or wall space. Okay, and if you don't have specific yoga props, see what you can find around the house. Pillows, uh, from the couch could be good. Extra blankets. Hopefully you have any kind of denser, firmer pillows could work. Okay, good idea to dim the lights, maybe have some mellow music going. If you have any kind of lavender or frankincense, something to um, diffuse, or if you had incense, setting your tone for slowing down and restoring. Okay, so we will begin in a supported child's pose. We'll use our bolster for this. You could fold blankets into a bolster-like shape if you don't have a bolster. If you enjoy restorative yoga, it would be worthwhile to have a bolster at home if you practice at home. Okay, so we're going to begin with the big toes touching and the knees wide enough to draw the bolster back toward you. Coming down, torso resting on the bolster. If this is like the end of the road for you, then I would add more stuff here to bring the bolster to you. We're always trying to use the props, kind of not to let the props use us, right? So we're not trying to change our shape in order to accommodate our props. We're trying to use and set up the props in order to accommodate ourselves. So just keep that in mind always, whether it's a restorative practice or not. We'll be here for about 4 minutes, and let's begin with the head turned to one side. So cheek is resting. Always a good idea to take your glasses off here, because we'll probably be in the way, but also just to tell the brain it's time to take a break. So once you get your setup, just drop into stillness, feeling supported, arriving in the present moment, again and again with each natural breath. Let's turn the head in the other direction. Bring your head through center to center, hands behind, underneath the shoulders, gently rising up. Take your time. Let's slide the bolster out and aside. And next we'll come to a kind of sideline child's pose. So for this, we'll use at least 2 blankets and a pillow, or 3 blankets if no pillow. So one of our blankets will be in a roll. The pillow will go underneath the head. And the other blanket can be in a larger fold, largish fold. Okay, we'll only do this on one side, and this will be the right side. Lying on your right side, having the folded blanket between your legs, knees are comfortably bent. And from here, lying on your side, and we're using this rolled blanket basically to hold, to kind of hug in. Adjust your pillow so that your neck is long and straight, not dropping, not excessively lifting. And we'll be here for about 5 minutes, so make any adjustments you need to feel at ease. You might need more support where I don't, or less where I do, but we want to feel comfortable and secure. And when you're ready, you can close your eyes. If the mind is busy, then focus especially on your breath. You don't need to breathe any particular way, but you can just notice the rise and fall of your belly as you breathe. Using your breath as an anchor to keep you grounded in the here and now. No need to make the breath big or impressive. If you're watching the rise and fall of your belly, it could be quite small and subtle. Let it be that way. We're letting each breath come and go naturally, just like waves on the beach. One more minute here. With intention rising, you can place your left hand down, let your head be heavy, and then the head rises last as you press yourself up. Our next shape is a supported constructive rest. For this, we'll use 2 blankets, our block, and the belt. If you don't have a yoga belt, any old belt will do, or you could use a scarf and tie it. So we'll place 1 blanket underneath the head. This one's relatively thin, just enough so that the chin isn't poking up toward the ceiling. It's instead a little bit slightly tucked down. Our second blanket is in this a little bit thicker bolster-like fold, and this will go underneath the balls of the feet, but don't lay down yet. You could have your eye pillow handy if you'd like to use that on your eyes. And we'll have the belt in a loop if you're working with a belt-like setup. And you're going to want to be able to slide it over both feet. So I would start a little bit bigger in order to get it over all the way up around both thighs. Easier to just get that in place now, have it a little bit loose, and we can adjust it after we get down. Okay, so lying now on your back with your balls of your feet and your toes up on your blanket and your head on your other blanket. You can have your feet a little further away from you rather than stacked right beneath your knees. Okay, and now we want to take our block on the narrow setting. I'd go narrow long, so it's between the knees and the upper thighs. Getting a lot of this surface contact through the inner thighs, so the long way is better because the belt goes right around your thighs and the belt, and then snug it down to secure everything in place. So once you bring your feet down, balls of the feet and toe mounds on your little blanket ramp and heels on the floor. And if you cinch up, the block should stay there and the legs stay there. So less effort. Okay. Maybe eye pillow going on your eyes, or you could place a scarf over your eyes if you want a little extra soothing darkness. And with almost all of these shapes, we're here for about 5 minutes. Let's add a little arm shape here. So you can stretch your arms up toward the ceiling just for a moment with the palms facing each other. And then bend your elbows and let your arms drape over your body. So kind of like you're giving yourself a hug, but as effortless as you can be in this shape. Feel free to adjust and readjust the arms so they feel just heavy and at ease. Just checking our time here. Closing your eyes. Being with your breath. Just feeling the rhythm of your natural breath. Staying connected to the rhythm of your natural breath. If you need a little bit more guidance or point of focus, you could return to the rise and fall of your belly, or you could feel your ribs riding the dips and swells of your breath, or noticing the spaces between breaths, as well as the breaths themselves. Let's switch which arm is on top. Coming back into this effortless bear hug shape. One more minute here. Resting awareness in the river of breath. Gently releasing out of this shape, first by loosening your belt. If it's hard for you to loosen your belt, you might pop the block out first, and then you can loosen it. Take your time here. Be very slow and gentle with yourself. Rolling to your side. Head is heavy. Head rises last. And then sliding the belt off. Next, we'll come into Supta Baddha Konasana, or reclined butterfly. We still want a slight tuck to the chin, so you might like to leave your blanket where it is. And we'll use the other blanket in a roll to go underneath the knees. Soles of the feet together, knees apart. Make sure your knees are resting on the blanket. Readjust if not, so your knees have some support. Alternately, you could use blocks underneath your knees. Lying on your back. If you're feeling too much tension, there might be a little sensation in your inner thighs, but we don't want too much here. We're not going for a big stretch. We're going for relaxation and restoration. So if that's happening for you, this excessive tension in your inner thighs, please add more support to your knees. You could rest your hands on your belly here. And we'll be here again for about 5 minutes. You might feel or visualize your breath traveling down into your relaxed, heavy legs. Breath staying in the foreground of awareness in order to keep your mind in the present moment. About 1 more minute here. And with no sense of hurry, bring your feet to the ground. Roll to your side. Head is heavy. Head rises last as you press yourself up. Next, we'll use a chair. Any old chair should do. And also a blanket or possibly two. So we'll be doing a cross-legged seat with the arms and head resting on the chair. We want to make sure, because we're doing a bit of a forward fold, that we can get the hips to hinge. So if you're feeling a bit more slumped back, like it's hard for you to fold forward, like it comes more from a rounding of the spine, then I recommend you sit on the edge of a blanket, right? I'm not all the way on, I'm a little bit more forward so that I can get the pelvis to tilt. Okay, another good reason to use this support is if your knees are very high up. Elevating your sitting bones will help the knees to drop down and thus the hip flexors to be a little bit more comfortable. With your chair, I like to place a blanket on top of the seat so it's soft, cozier. We're sitting cross-legged. We'll be here for 5 minutes and we'll switch the cross of the legs about halfway through. Working to keep the spine long. So chair a bit forward. Notice I'm not creating this big rounding of the spine, and forehead resting probably on your forearms, maybe on the seat of the chair. Just see what works for you for ease and a sense of relaxing rather than effort. Let's rise up through the spine in order to switch the cross of the legs. And then fold forward once again. Head is heavy, completely supported. Not necessarily going for a big, deep forward fold with lots of sensation, just a gentle, kind of easy shape. Gently root to rise. Okay, we'll keep the chair and keep the blanket on top of the chair for legs on the chair. You might want a blanket underneath your head. Depending on your proportions and the height of your chair, you might want a blanket or a bolster even underneath your pelvis. So the lower legs will be on the chair with bent knees at a bit of an open angle, everybody. So I already know with my chair that I need a little bit of height underneath my pelvis so that the entirety of my calves rests on the chair. So if the chair is a little big or tall, really, relative to your setup, then the feet will be up and you won't be able to let the shins and the feet drop down. So elevating the pelvis is a way to help that shape. Okay, depending on your chair, you might be able to bring your feet through the back of the chair if your legs are long and they're running in. Or you could turn your chair sideways if you're not able to get as much of your lower legs on the chair as you can. Hands can rest on the belly or on the floor here. And we'll be here for about 5 minutes. Continuing to hold the breath in the foreground of awareness. And now maybe with a little bit more awareness of and emphasis on your exhalations. You don't have to change your breath in any way. but you might be a little more aware and observant of any pause that follows the exhalation. Not changing the breath in any way, just noticing any pause that follows the exhalation, the stillness, the quiet, the non doing. And not making the breath come back in, just letting it happen when it's ready. About half of a minute more here. When you're ready, you can bring your knees in toward your chest. Roll over to your side. Head is heavy. Press your hands down to come up. Head rises last. We're doing one supported standing shape, followed by legs up the wall. Carefully coming up to standing. We've been down for a long time. We'll keep that blanket on the chair, and you might end up adding a little bit more height. It will depend on you. So I'm taking a wide-legged stance. It'll be wider than your mat, folding forward and resting forearms and head on the chair. Let's bring awareness down to the feet. Lift the toes. See how that lifts your arches. Keep the arches up and release the toes back down. Toes are a little spread apart more than they were a moment ago, hopefully. Feeling connection to the floor through the heels especially, but also the toe mounds, the balls of the feet, and each toe. Without working too much, let's make sure the ribs aren't dropping and causing compression or discomfort in the back. If you're feeling a bit of that, try lifting the rib cage up away from the floor a little bit. Head is heavy, arms are relaxed. You can always adjust to make it work for you. For some of you, this might be way too much of a forward fold, in which case you can put your arms and your head on the back of the chair instead. And just keep coming back to the breath again and again and again. You can revisit any of the points of focus that we have explored. If you benefit from, if you like the bit more of a specific focus, so whether that's the belly or the legs or the pause that follows the exhale or just breath itself, coming back again and again. We'll just be here for a few more breaths. And now let's come up gradually here. So coming up onto the hands on the seat of the chair, and then heel toe walk your feet in so they're under your frame, rising to stand. Our last shape is a legs up the wall. If you don't have any wall space at all, you can come back to legs on the chair or take a more traditional shavasana lying on your back. Let's try a pillow or a bolster underneath the pelvis. I want to emphasize that it's not underneath the lower back. We want to let the lower back have its natural curve and potentially be able to drop toward the floor. You might want another blanket to go underneath your head. Again, we want that slight chin tuck. So I'm going to use a blanket rather than a bolster. Bolster might be too much, might be just right. Some people are fine just on the floor. That might work for you if you have a carpet. I always like to have my mat underneath me. You might want a blanket to go on top of you. You know, my body temperature has dropped down. And one thing that most people don't really seem to need it or care for it, but some folks really like it, is to have the legs bound. So if you still have your belt in a loop and you want to try that, or you have a scarf that you can tie, for some of us, the legs have a little bit of a hard time relaxing. But when they have that containment of the belt, they can really let go without kind of drifting off the wall. So I'm getting as close as I can to the wall without creating a big hamstring stretch. So if your hamstrings are relatively open, you'll have your bolster or your blanket pretty close to the wall so that the tailbone can kind of spill over the edge a little bit. If you've never come into this shape before, the hardest part is usually getting into the shape. So you'll start sitting with one side facing the wall and then keep scooting your pelvis toward the wall. Lower your upper body down and then roll onto your back and swing the legs up the wall. Now, some of you might need to readjust your bolster or your blanket. And the easiest way to do that is to push the feet into the wall, lift the hips up off of the bolster or blanket, and then slide it where you need to so that your pelvis is on it. But I don't like lower back personally on it. If it feels good for you, it's certainly something you could do, but I like the lower back just dropping without the bolster getting in the way. And then if you want to use your belt, it goes around the thighs about midway, and then you can cinch it snug and make sure you're warm. And we'll be here for about 5 minutes. If you want a little more chest, shoulder opening, arms can rest in cactus. My floor is feeling kind of cold, so I'm going to get under the blanket here. And now we're just feeling how the breath moves through and moves the body in a kind of wave-like motion. Again, we're not trying to change the breath or breathe any particular way. Simply observing the breath as a whole and how it interacts with the body. Couple more minutes here. Bringing up a slightly deeper, longer breath. You have the belt in place. You can loosen it and slide it off. Roll to your side. Maybe pausing here with bottom arm as a pillow. Use your hands to press up, head rising last. Okay, so from here, this was a break and you're off to do other things now with your day. Then hopefully you have a little bit more of a calm demeanor and can approach things in a more peaceful manner. And if you are headed off to bed, hopefully you can just shut right down and make your way. Thank you so much for joining me. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace.